Uh, okay, I think we are live. Gonna do one or two more checks, make sure everybody's audio is good, everything is looking okay. Let's go ahead and have a look at this. Right, perfect. Looks like we've got it going over here. Okay, so welcome everybody. I would like to welcome all of our viewers who are here with us today. If you guys have been following the page, or if you've been following a couple of the smaller pages for Profilingua Kraków or something, some of you guys might already know me. This is going to be the second webinar that I'm going to be doing for everybody. Right, so normal webinar things, just to update you a little bit on what's going to go on here. Please, this webinar is not about me, it's about all of you watching. We're going to be having a little bit of a conversation. I encourage you guys to, leave some comments, ask some questions, do whatever you want. I really think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I look forward to interacting with you guys. We've got Małgorzata coming in, welcome. Guys, please do keep in mind that your messages might come in maybe 20 or 30 seconds late, right? Just because of the delay. So if you are going to be asking me a question, leaving a comment, I might only see it like 20, 30 seconds down the line. But other than that, everything should be going fine. I see everybody's coming in. So I think we can get started. So today I'm going to be talking a little bit about a topic that is quite near and dear to me. Oftentimes, of course, I teach a Profilingua on a daily basis, and I have taught in many other places as well. Main Profilingua page joining us as well. Hello there. And my students will often come up to me and say, Connor, I'm trying to explain something, either to you or to one of my friends that I'm learning with or something, and I catch myself saying the same things over and over again. Okay, Eva, Monica, hello. And basically, I'm getting upset because I'm trying to describe something in some way. And in the moment, I can't think of the other word that I would like to use. I just have to keep using the same word over and over again. How do I change that? How do I improve my vocabulary to such a point that I can pick and choose different words for different situations so that I'm just not saying the same word over and over again? And this is what I've prepared for us today. So I'm going to go through a little bit about what we're going to be discussing. So today is how to stop repeating yourself in English, tips and tricks on how to improve your vocabulary and make every conversation unique. So before we get started, I just want to go ahead and bring your guys' attention to a little promo that we've got going on over here. So you lucky viewers who are watching me today, I'm going to go ahead and pop this link over here in the comments. You guys can find it, so you can click it easily. And basically you follow this link over here during the webinar. And once you click this, you'll be able to sign up for a nice free little trial lesson as well. So I encourage you guys, if you're interested, go ahead and do that. You can find the link in the comments. So please do go ahead and organize that. If not, somebody else in the comments will help you get that link as soon as possible. Okay, but for now, a little bit about me, for those of you who maybe do not know me yet. So my name is Connor. I am a native B1 or B2 to C1 level English teacher at Profilingua Kraków. I was born in a country called the Republic of South Africa. Some of you may have heard of it. I am a UK and South African dual national, so I have passports or nationality, I suppose you could say, of both of them. And why do I have it like this? Well, my father is from Scotland. So basically, aside from being born in South Africa, I basically grew up in a very British, very Scottish household, right? So it was just the location I was born in. Pretty much everything about my life otherwise has been very British and very Scottish. So of course, that means that English is my native language, and I also speak a language called Afrikaans, which is very similar to Dutch, and Chinese fluently. I'm also trying to improve some of my other languages, Polish being one of them. So perhaps one day I can go ahead and share some of my knowledge with you over there. And then as far as my experience as an English teacher goes, I've taught English to second language learners across 3 continents. So in South Africa, people who didn't come from a majority English speaking area, or English wasn't their first language, I would teach them. When I lived in China for a little bit, I would end up teaching a lot of students, and more specifically adult students in China as well. And now, of course, I'm here in Europe, I'm here in Poland, and I'm teaching a majority Polish learners here in Profilingua. So that's enough about me. Don't want to talk too much about myself today. I want to talk about the topic at hand. I want to get everybody involved. Let's start talking about the good stuff. I see that the link has been shared, so please do feel free to go ahead and grab it over there. Something about my pasting didn't work too well, but the proper link is now there. You can go and sign up for that promo if you would like. Okay, so what we're going to be talking about today is, first of all, I want to just tell you guys a little bit about why having a larger vocabulary matters, of course. I want to quickly go ahead and share with you some clever ways to expand your vocabulary. I've got one of my favorite ways and one of my students' favorite ways, who they have told me that they really appreciate and they really enjoy. So hopefully it will be helpful to you guys as well here in the webinar. And then just another technique or two to ensure that every conversation you have with somebody in English is going to be unique. It's going to be different in some way. You're not going to feel like you maybe are saying the same things over and over again. And then after that, of course, I want to leave a little bit of time, maybe 5-10 minutes, to have a little bit of a Q&A, right? So it's not just me having this webinar. All of you here watching with me are part of the action. So if you would like, you can, of course, leave questions as I'm talking and I will get to them. But if you really have some longer form questions or you have some comments or something like that, the end will probably be the best, because then I'll be able to just pick them out and talk to you once the whole presentation is finished. So I hope you guys are looking forward to that. Okay, so of course, you might ask, why is having such a broad vocabulary so important? Why do I need to pay attention to these kinds of things? If I'm speaking correctly and what I'm saying is not wrong, do I really need to change up my vocabulary that much? And all of you guys in this group are probably very passionate about your languages. I'm sure I don't need to explain to all of you why it's good to be able to, mix and match the words that you're using. But to really go ahead and make a point, I'm going to quickly go ahead and show you this sentence. So if I go out and read this, and it says, last week, I visited my nice friend in his nice hometown. We got into his nice car and went to a nice coffee shop. The coffee was very nice and had a very interesting flavor. All in all, it was a nice and interesting trip. Now, reading that, there's nothing particularly wrong with it. It's not incorrect. It's not something that somebody would stop you and say, I don't understand what you're saying. That's not what we're talking about. But we go ahead and we look at this particular sentence over here, and you can hear saying this word nice over and over again. It's starting to sound a bit odd. It's starting to sound a bit repetitive, right? So things are being repeated over and over again. It kind of sounds a little bit unnatural. Right? So of course, not just for being able to impress all of our friends and whenever we're writing an essay or a job application, writing something in our CV, aside from putting fancy words in there, obviously being one good part of having a big vocabulary, just in our day-to-day speaking, when we are speaking to people, speaking to our friends, our teachers, whoever else we may be speaking English to, it's important that we try to speak English in a natural sounding way, in a way that doesn't annoy either us or the people that we are talking to. And one of the best ways we can do that is to make sure we do not repeat ourselves, okay? So there is a way that we can go ahead and make sentences like these with a lot of details very interesting by just mixing and matching some of the words a little bit. So let's go ahead and have a look at my other version that I went and I whipped up for us. So this is the same sentence. I've just went and chopped and changed the words nice and interesting to try and get some different words in there, try to make what I'm saying a little bit clearer, first of all, and then you will see that I have not repeated the word nice or interesting at all. Okay, will the recording of the webinar be available on Facebook? Of course, yes. So as soon as the webinar is finished, if you don't have the time to maybe watch the whole thing right now, watch as much as you can, and then later on you can come back to the webinar at any time. It's going to be here, and you can watch it as many times as you like. Okay, you'll be able to pause, go back, change the volume, share it. All of that will be up to you. Profilingua Kraków, my home school. Good to see you guys over here. Thank you for the support. Okay, so let's go ahead and have a look at this second sentence over here. So it says, last week, I visited my great friend in his gorgeous hometown. We got into his fancy car and went to a cozy coffee shop. The coffee was very tasty and had a unique flavor. All in all, it was a lovely and eye-opening trip. Now, I think you guys can all agree with me. If I say it like that, if I've used some of these different words and I've made sure that I'm not repeating myself in any of these sentences, then I think we can all agree that it just sounds a lot better. It sounds a lot more natural. It even sounds like I'm giving more details. You know, the word nice is good and all, gives us a good feeling, sure, but words like fancy, great, cozy, they mean nice, but there's also a little something extra onto it over there. So if we go ahead, for example, my great friend, okay, that means our friendship is very close, or I could say great friend as he is a great guy, he is a good person, right? Instead of nice hometown, I could say gorgeous hometown, okay? So gorgeous also has nice, but it also has more of a beautiful meaning, okay? So I think we can all agree if we look at this little picture over here, that looks like a beautiful little hometown, it looks very nice, okay? So we can give some more details as well. Fancy car, it is a nice car, everybody likes it, but why is it nice? Because it's probably very expensive. It makes people go, wow, look at that car, I can't believe it, or something. Okay, so fancy, cozy, tasty, unique, lovely, gorgeous, all of these kinds of words will do a whole bunch to go ahead and give some extra details to what you are saying. So with that, I want to go ahead and quickly bring your attention to using a new vocabulary and some things you can keep in mind. Okay, so sometimes when we are thinking about what words to use, what words would be most appropriate, we need to carefully choose which synonym we can use. Okay, so if we go online and we search synonyms for the word happy, sad, cold, warm, I don't know, pretty, ugly, all of these kind of words, you'll find that Google just gives you lists and lists and lists and lists of all of these different synonyms. But we can't just stop there. We need to try and just go one little step further and see, all right, what is it I'm talking about that will help me choose the correct synonym to use? Okay, and this is one of the best skills you can have when you're learning new vocabulary. Try to understand the context. Try to understand what is happening around this thing that I'm talking about. What is this thing that I'm talking about? And then I can go ahead and choose the correct one. So I've picked a little example over here that I would like to show you. So let's use the word old. Okay, so we know what the word old is, right? A very basic word. All of us who have, you know, a couple of levels in English language, old will not be a difficult word for us. But say, for example, you're trying to describe someone or something, you're trying to say that they're old in, you know, by using a very interesting synonym, and you go, all right, what synonyms can I find for the word old? Let me go and look them up. And you get a whole bunch. And then you might see elderly and antique popping up in your list of synonyms for the word old. Now, that's not where we can stop. Okay, so we need to go one step further and that try to understand the context. So in this example, I've just gone and I've chosen a random word and I've chosen two random synonyms, but I'm just trying to use this example to show the point. Now, when we talk about the word elderly, when we use the word elderly, that is normally used to describe people. Okay, we wouldn't say that my old jacket that I've been leaving around and I need to buy a new jacket. The other old one, I wouldn't say it's an elderly jacket. Okay, the context is not right for that. Elderly is normally reserved for people. So we need to be careful for things like this, that we don't make a mistake by calling something that shouldn't be called elderly, well, elderly. We need to be careful for that. Okay, and then, for example, the word antique. Now, antique is normally used to describe items or things. Okay, so again, the same way that we describe people as elderly when we're trying to say that they're old, we also wouldn't say that somebody is an antique, right? Maybe you would, but that's an insult. It's not grammatically correct. It's not something we would say like, oh, he is a very antique person. That's not really something we say. Instead, we would say the person is elderly and this camera is an antique. Or this, you know, you buy a nice vase to put some flowers and water in. Maybe that is an antique. You see, these are all items or things. Maybe it's something we can pay attention to over there. We need to just have an idea of what particular words we are going to use where. So with this knowledge that we just gone and picked up over here, now that we know we need to look for the context, right? We need to look at what we are describing. We can go back and look over here. So with all of the changes I made, let's go ahead and have a look at this one, right? So we were describing the coffee shop. Now, in the first sentence, I just said it was a nice coffee shop. I said the coffee shop was good, right? It was not bad, it was nice. But I can go a step further than that. What am I trying to describe about the coffee shop? What was nice about it? And I think about it, it had a very nice atmosphere. It had a very, delicious range of coffees for me to drink. Maybe they had some very, interesting things to look at, nice furniture, all that kind of stuff. And this whole experience, the atmosphere, the chairs, the delicious coffee made me feel very warm. It gave me a nice feeling that makes you feel warm and welcome, all that kind of stuff. So the most appropriate word we could use there would be cozy. If we wanted to describe over here that the coffee was nice. Okay, so again, when we're talking about a nice coffee, there are a couple of things that can be nice about it. Is it the way it looks? Is it the way it smells? Is it the way it tastes, right? Is it the way it was packaged? Did it come in a very pretty cup or something like that? Okay, there's so many things we can say. But if we go ahead and use the word tasty, right? Because if food is nice, you might also say food is tasty, but that goes one step further. It shows us that we are talking about the taste of the coffee or the taste of the food or something like that. Okay, so we just need to, when we are looking for our synonyms, when we are expanding our vocabulary, to just go ahead and try to pick the one that best suits the context, that best suits the situation that we are talking about. So go ahead and keep that in mind when you guys are improving your vocabulary. So you might be asking me, oh, Connor, this is all good news and all, and this is all good information, and I understand, and I would like to go ahead and put this into practice. How would I go about doing that? How is the best way to practice this? How am I supposed to understand what's going on? Luckily for you, I've gone and prepared one of my personal favorite when I learn languages, of course. So outside of teaching English, I learn foreign languages myself. And then, of course, I do these exercises with my students in Profilingua Kraków, and they also tell me that they like this kind of idea very much. And I'm going to introduce you one of my favorite ways to improve vocabulary. So it doesn't have a special name or anything. I like to call it vocabulary drop, okay, because I'm just getting as many pieces of vocabulary related to one word as I can, throwing them down on a page or on my computer or something like that. And then I'm like, okay, how should I sort them? What is the situation? Okay, so how are we going to do this? How do I try to learn my vocabulary? How do I try to teach my students to improve their vocabulary? Well, I like to do it like this. So let's go through it step by step. So the first thing we do is we think of ones we maybe already know, or we look up, so we go onto Google and find as many synonyms as we can for the word as possible and list them out. So in this example, I've chosen the word cold, okay? And I don't want to say that I jumped into the cold river on a cold day, that kind of thing. I want to go ahead and mix it up a bit. I want to improve my vocabulary. So I've chosen the word cold, and I've thought up and gone onto Google and collected all of these different synonyms for the word cold over here. But looking at them, chilly, freezing, cool, icy, frigid, unfriendly, distant, you will see that a lot of them are quite different, right? So what does being unfriendly have to do with cool? Or what does being distant have to do with freezing? Okay, so it's not enough to just write all of the synonyms down. What I think we need to do after that is try to divide the word amongst different contexts or about different situations. Try to divide them by what they are describing. So you'll see that taking the words that I've looked up and that I found and all that kind of stuff, and I will try to make a little table, right? I'll have some columns, and let's see, what if I'm describing the weather? Which synonyms for cold should I use? What if I am describing water, for example? Okay, so maybe in a river or a lake, or even just water in your sink or something like that. And then, of course, what if I'm describing a person? Okay, so those of you who your English is maybe a little bit on a higher level, you will know that if we say that somebody is cold, right, aside from them just being cold and, not warm, it also has a metaphorical meaning and means that maybe this person, doesn't like talking to other people. They keep to themselves, they're quite unfriendly, that kind of stuff. You can also say this about somebody if they are cold. So you see how now I've got all of these different situations that I could possibly go ahead and mix in like so. Now that I've got all of these different situations, now I can try to divide them. I can go and research a little bit. I can look up the word chili. What does it mean? When do people normally use this word? There are also very good websites where you can look up a piece of vocabulary and it doesn't just tell you what it means, but maybe they will give you some example sentences, right? If you have an English teacher, if you're studying with us at Profilingua, or maybe you have a little buddy that you're learning with or something like that, ask them, hey, how would you use the word chili? In what situations is the word chili used? And using what you find, you can say, all right, I see. People normally say that the weather is chilly, and people can normally say that, oh, the water is quite chilly. I don't want to go into the water. Okay, so you can see that I can put them over here, and then I know if I ever come back and look at this a bit later, that if I want to know how to use the word chili, which situations are the best for using the word chili, then I can just go ahead and look at my little table I made. Okay, so I should use chili for the weather, and I should use chili for water and that kind of stuff. Now, of course, these are not just 3 columns. There might be a whole bunch over here that you can try and divide. And you'll see that sometimes they can be different, right? So you'll see that some of them describe some things and not the other, right? So this is the same in all languages. You can't just know the word, you have to know how it is used as well. And this is one of the most important things about vocabulary learning, because that's how you take it one step further. That's how you make sure that you're always using the correct word at the correct time. Okay, so we talked about weather and water and all of that kind of stuff. Now we go ahead and we look at this weather, water, and then we've got a person as well. Now, we might also say that a person is cold, okay? This person doesn't like talking. This person keeps to themselves. This person doesn't want to make friends with you. They have their own business. You should leave them alone, and they don't want to talk or anything like that. Okay, it's also very common to talk about a person being cold like this, right? So then you would look, all right, which words over here in the ones that I've collected could describe a person? So, okay, this person might be unfriendly. Okay, you would go ahead and put it in over there. This person might be distant. Okay, if somebody is distant, that means that they're quite far away, right? So they're not actually far away, but they like to keep far away from other people. They don't like to let other people get close. They don't like to they don't like having other people get to know them. They don't like speaking to other people, probably. They don't like doing that too much. Okay, so this is also very common over here to go ahead and get used. So with this particular example, again, I want to jump back to our one that we did earlier. So the same way as we used cold over there, if you find yourself maybe writing a sentence, or you're preparing for a class, or you're writing a project that maybe needs to be written in English for school, for university, or maybe even for work, something like that, you can just go through it again and see, all right, did I use the same words over and over again? I see I've used this word nice a lot. I probably should start looking into, a different word that I could use. Okay, so I see I'm talking about the coffee. What other words, what synonyms of nice when I'm describing coffee? Okay, describing a car, right? What might be good synonyms to describe a car? I can go ahead and think about it. And then once you've thought about it, maybe you have your little table prepared already. If you've been practicing your vocabulary, you've been trying to learn extra ones, then you can just go ahead and try to add some extra things on there. So I think this is also a very useful tool that you can use, and probably one of my favorite ways to go ahead and improve your vocabulary whenever you are trying to add some extra words into your vocabulary like so. Okay, so the next thing we can do as well is if any of you guys follow the Profilingua Kraków page, or you're in any of the groups, we have a dedicated group over there that you can join, and there's some extra content in there. But I do a show on there sometimes called 15 Minutes with English, where I like to just, choose a little topic, and for 15 minutes I will talk about, I don't know, some interesting slang, some useful words, how to speak more like a native, very short topics, speaking about them in a very short period of time, like so. So I would encourage you to go ahead and watch that if you haven't. And in one of those, I'm not sure if it's been released yet or not, I mentioned that one of the best ways that you can learn how to speak like a native, right? You want to make yourself sound more natural. You want to speak in such a way where people think that your English is, very high quality, you're at a very high level, is to go ahead and try to use things like similes, metaphors, idioms, all of these things, right? So idioms will have been special phrases that mean something completely different from what the words say. Okay, metaphors probably do the same, and similes would probably be something like saying that it's as cold as ice, or they might be like, oh, I'm as tired as a log, or something like that. So all of these things you can do to go ahead and not use the same words over and over again. You can use an interesting phrase, an interesting metaphor, an interesting idiom to try and get your ideas across like that. So if we go ahead and have a look at this, how would we use idioms and metaphors to mix it up, to make sure that every conversation is unique? Well, we could go ahead and do something like this. Of course, we would need to go ahead and try to learn some of our idioms first, but let's go ahead and see the effect that it can have on a whole sentence like this. So in the example sentence that I have over here, I pose a question to myself and I say, should I move out early and lose my deposit, right? So your deposit when you rent a flat or you rent something else, to just make the person renting it feel safe, you will give them a bit of money at the beginning, and then when you leave, if everything is okay, if nothing is broken, they will give it back. So that's the deposit. So move out early and lose my deposit, or stay in this apartment I don't like. Okay, so maybe I don't like this apartment, it's not nice. I don't want to keep staying here, but I also do not want to lose my deposit. So again, I've got two very let's say unfortunate situations, unfortunate choices, and no matter which one I choose, it's going to be bad. So I say over here that this is a very difficult decision, and no matter what I choose, both have a bad side that I need to accept. Okay, so looking at this, this says what I need to say. It describes my situation perfectly. I'm telling the listener, or I'm telling the reader, how I feel about the situation. I'm expressing to them, how much this situation is bugging me and how difficult these two choices are. But you can just see that this is a whole long and somewhat unnecessary sentence that I don't have to include, right? Because if I know some idioms, I can go ahead and put them in over here and change it up. So if I go ahead and look at the altered version, at the changed version, I might say something like move out early and lose my deposit, or stay in this apartment I don't like. I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place. Okay, so when we say in English that I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place, right? You can imagine it when we have a rock, right? Like a big stone, very hard, and a hard place, maybe a building or something, also very hard. We're stuck between them. We can't choose between them. Both of them are very bad. Both of them are putting pressure on us. Okay, so if we say między młotem a kowadłem, right, if I got that correct, I believe that's the Polish equivalent. But you can see how even in Polish, if we go ahead and use this and try to express that, there are two difficult choices and we don't want to say the whole thing, then it can be very useful to go ahead and put some idioms in there to try and mix it up. So if we go ahead and look at this, we can see how having this whole sentence over here is not incorrect. We can just go ahead and make it better. If we improve our vocabulary, which includes things like idioms and metaphors and all that kind of stuff, it will make our sentence a lot more interesting, and we will avoid having to repeat these long, unnecessary sentences. Okay, so vocabulary is not just learning synonyms for a single word, but maybe we can go ahead and describe whole situations in a different way. We can describe them in such a way that we can save time and we don't have to repeat all of these long and boring sentences if we don't have to. Okay, so just a quick little look back over here. So we have our idioms and we have our metaphors, going ahead and saving some time, not repeating ourselves. If we jump all the way back over here to the example sentences that we've been using, and we look at all of these ones, right? We don't want to keep saying nice. What can we do? We just go ahead and we add some different vocabulary in there to talk about as well. Right, so let's go ahead, and I quickly want to just reiterate. So if you guys are interested in this promo that we have going on over here, Profilingua has very kindly gone and provided the link in the comments as well. And basically you go ahead, you follow this link. It'll take you to a page. You should see my face there, right? And basically, once you're on this page, you can go ahead, you can sign up, and we will be arranging a very special free trial lesson for you, right? So maybe you have interest in learning English, or maybe you have interest in learning languages in general, right? Maybe you're not one of our students. Maybe you need to bite to the bullet, right? You just need to make the decision that you want to start learning. Then please, I encourage you all to go ahead and do this. So if needed, please, if anything is a little bit unclear, do not hesitate to go ahead and ask in the comments, right? So aside from just me over here, you will also be able to ask the admins of the group, and they will help you out as well. So please do not hesitate to do that. Okay, so now I want to quickly go ahead and open the floor. Today is going to be a little bit of a shorter webinar, unfortunately. I'm doing this webinar in between some of my classes. I had to pick some time out just to do this webinar. I love broadcasting to you guys. I love sharing the knowledge. So for the last couple of minutes before I head off and get back to my own classes, I'm opening the floor for a 10-15 minute questions and answers regarding vocabulary, right? Because this is something that I get asked a lot. One of the main reasons why students come to improve their language skills is they say, I can do okay with my grammar. People understand me when I speak, but I have a couple of extra things that I would like to do. I have some extra needs when it comes to expanding my vocabulary, learning new words, all that kind of stuff. So the Q&A is now live, and I would like to open the floor to you guys. If any of you guys have any other questions, if you have any comments, anything like that, please do go ahead and leave them over here, and I would like to get started answering them for you guys. So please do keep in mind that I may only see your question 15-20 seconds after it's sent because of the delay, but I'm going to do my best to answer each and every question. In the meantime, I would just like to go ahead and reiterate some of the things that I said while I wait for the questions to come up. So again, whenever you are learning new vocabulary, try to find some synonyms, and then afterwards divide them into the contexts. Okay, so when we talk about context or the things that they are describing, try to put yourself in a situation where basically whatever's going to be said and whatever it is you're trying to describe, you'll be able to just go ahead and pick the most correct word for that. So not only are you using a different word than cold or old or warm or happy or something like that, but you're also using the most correct one for the situation. That's one thing I would like to stress when we are doing this. Okay, so the floor is still open. If anybody else has other questions, then please do go ahead and send them through. The majority of the questions so far are people asking whether or not the VOD or the recording of the webinar will be up. Of course it will, so please, I advise you guys, if you maybe want to slow me down, if you want to play the video a few times over, then you can go ahead and do that. Okay, so another question is, could you give us some advice on how to express your opinion in English in many ways? And also maybe some synonyms of when you want to agree or disagree with somebody. Okay, so I think let's start with the agreeing or disagreeing. Okay, so if we have the field of agree, right? Rather than me just telling you we can do it the way that I've been talking about in the webinar, you would first go ahead and look, what are some words to agree, to say yes, right? You would probably say things like, of course, or naturally, or we might even say something like, let's do this, or something like that. Okay, you might have a little interjection, right? And again, when we have all of these, that we've looked them up and we're trying to think, all right, how do I use this? What is the proper situation? Then you might see that, of course, is a bit more formal. Okay, naturally is very formal, it's very literary. You might see it in very fancy documents, whereas let's do this is a little bit more casual, right? You wouldn't say this in a business email or something like that. Okay, I see we have another question from Justina, and we'll get to that very soon. And then, for example, if we had to do disagree, then maybe something like this would be, you go ahead and you look up for it, and you might say, like somebody asks you a question, you disagree with them, you could say, unfortunately not. Or you might say that aside from me disagreeing, something along the lines of, I must politely decline, refuse, disagree, all of these words. I'm going to go ahead and save some time because I see some more questions are coming in. But again, just go ahead and try to pick some of the ones that you can find, break them apart, look at what the context is, and you can go ahead and use them over there. Okay, Justina asks, can you tell us some more ways of learning vocabulary, right? So again, I think this is the best way for, trying to split the vocabulary to know which one is best, but sometimes you want to go ahead and you want to make some games out of it. Okay, so you can make vocabulary games. A couple that I sometimes do with my students off of the top of my head is you get some generators online where you can ask them to take vocabulary. They automatically find the definition and then they mix it up. Okay, and you try to match them. You can play games like that. And even if you get it wrong, you can see that just it being a game, it makes it more fun. You might remember what the correct answer is afterwards. Okay, so I would recommend playing some vocabulary games. Another interesting way of learning vocabulary would be to take a very difficult book or a book that's maybe a little bit above your level. Go ahead and highlight all the words you don't know, and then go ahead, put them in, find their definitions, and then try to rewrite a sentence, not the same sentence from the book, but use this word that you have just highlighted to try and make a sentence of your own, and then check with your teacher, check with your buddy, and you would go ahead and try to use a new word in a sentence as soon as you see it. Okay, because sometimes we might not be able to remember the exact word, but we can remember the sentence that we made with it. And if we can remember the sentence that we made with it, then we can think back, we can jog our brain. What was the sentence that I made? Oh yes, it was like this. I can go ahead and give some extra pointers over there. Okay, the next question is from Eva Bear, who asks, do you think phrasal verbs are a good way to extend our vocabulary? It's a very good question, right? So if we have a look at phrasal verbs, right? So for those of you who have been, learning your English, you will know that phrasal verbs are something like to take up, to take down, to take after, these kinds of words, right? So phrasal verbs, basically, in case anybody is unclear, you have a base verb over here. And then if you add something onto the end, right, you add these particles onto the end, up, down, after, you will see that each of these words ends up being something totally different. So if we go ahead and have a look at these, one way of doing this to improve your vocabulary might be the same way that we had in our little thing over here, this table, right? We have cold. You can go ahead and you can put the big word take, right? Let's find all of the phrasal verbs with take. Take up, take down, take after, take into account, or something like that. And then the same thing, right? What does this phrasal verb mean? What is it trying to describe? What is the situation? And then you say, if I am talking about being like my mom or my dad, okay, that's a situation. I put take after in there. I take after my mom in liking ice cream because I like ice cream and my mom likes ice cream. I take after her. If you want to say something along the lines of, you want to take up, right? When we're talking about taking up, it might be something like you want to start a new hobby or something like that. You want to take up painting. You want to take up writing, something like that. Then go ahead and put a little note over there. Make a little column for yourself that says describing hobbies, interests, that kind of stuff, and put take up into there. So I think, Everbear, that phrasal verbs are a very good way of extending our vocabulary. You must just be careful that there can be very many phrasal verbs for each one. Okay, so words like hold, hold on, hold out, hold up, right? All of these different things. So it can be a big workload. So I wouldn't advise you to try and do as many phrasal verbs as you can because it will be difficult to remember them all. But if you find one that you think is going to give you a lot of use, that maybe you see very often, you see a lot of words with take or hold or break, break up, break down, break into, all these kinds of words, then please do not hesitate to make these little tables. Every time that I have recommended these tables, let me go ahead and clear this out so you guys can see. when I have recommended these tables over here to my students, when we have been doing them in class. Everybody has good things to say, and it is one of the more memorable things. And then once you have it, of course, whether you're making it on paper or whether you are just, making a little document on your computer or something like that, then it's there. It's always there for you to reference, and you can think back on your own thought patterns over there if you would like to add anything else onto that. Okay, so Justina says, thank you for your answer. You're welcome. I hope that it was informative. Of course, there are very, very many ways of learning vocabulary that's going to be dependent on everyone. Today, I just wanted to show you some of the ones that I think are the most helpful and can give you the most information. But of course, if you guys have your own methods, maybe try to mix them up, right? So do the method that you like and try to do the table, and maybe you can find a way that suits you as a person, as a learner, right? Here at Profi, we understand that everybody learns differently, right? So some people might learn better from visuals, they might enjoy seeing things more, they might, for example, enjoy making notes. Some people would like to listen instead. Maybe they will record themselves making lists and trying to set things up. Whatever works for you, please, I encourage you to do it. And this is just giving you some ideas on how you can put them together, how you can better improve your vocabulary skills. So the questions are still open. If anybody else would like to ask, I'm going to do maybe 2-3 more minutes. So I have time for maybe 1 or 2 more questions. Please do go ahead and leave a question over there if you would like. One more time, guys, again, go ahead and check out the promo. If you would like, I can arrange for this particular presentation to be uploaded. If any of you guys would like to have another look at it, maybe I will contact the admins and you can find this presentation over there with them, and I will make sure that they'll be able to get it to you. Right, and in the meantime, I think it would be best if you sign up for the trial lesson, because then I can sit with you all and we can go into further detail when we are discussing these things. Barbara says, do you recommend any particular online dictionaries where we can search synonyms and exemplary sentences? So this will depend on what you prefer. So I understand that, things like Google Translate and that kind of stuff to find context is not particularly good. Often I find websites like Babla, right, are pretty good when it comes to going between Polish and English. If that's what you're trying to do, you want to just go ahead and compare the 2 languages. That can help. There is Context Reverso as well. Oh, I see that one of our commenters has also commented it. And basically, when you have Context Reverso, you can put in a word either just in one language, or if you're comparing a language, and a whole bunch of example sentences will come up. They will highlight the word that you put in. So say, for example, you used the word antique from our examples or something like that. Let me change the color so you can see, like so. You put in the word antique, and then maybe 15 or 20 sentences will come up. All will have context around them, and you can see antique telephone, antique camera, antique something. And then by looking at all of those example sentences, you can see, okay, so I know that antique is describing items, not people, that kind of thing, right? So Context Reverso, Babla, and I think those are the best when it comes to exemplary sentences and that kind of stuff. And then when it comes to just finding all of the synonyms that you would like, if you want to make those tables that I showed you, you can find them all in your normal thesaurus.com. There's probably thesaurus apps that you can get for your phone nowadays. So just go ahead, pick them all up, slap them down, try to find the context for them, and then divide them so you know which ones to use where, and then you will be able to more effectively and more correctly use all of the new vocabulary that you have learned. Okay, so I think that is it for today. I would have liked to have answered some more questions, but unfortunately I'm going to have to end it here. Still got a couple of classes for the rest of the day. I was very happy that I managed to share another webinar with you guys. Those of you who will have watched my last one, maybe you will have known me already. It's good to be back. Good to be back on the main page, sharing this webinar with you guys. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for everybody who left very nice comments and who were asking questions. It's very useful. We like to see it, and we hope that your questions and your comments were noticed, were answered. And again, if you have any other questions that maybe I do not have time to answer in this video, then please do contact the admins of the page, or you can go ahead and arrange yourself the free trial lesson using the link over here on the screen, or you can find it in the comments as well. So everybody who joined the stream today, I would like to thank you guys for all sticking around for this long. Hopefully you guys have learned something today. I hope that you guys have all had a good time. Thank you for your participation. The webinars are, a very nice community thing. I enjoy being able to speak to you guys, being able to interact with you. It's been lovely. And I think that my time has come. I'm going to have to log off. So I look forward to seeing you guys in the next webinar, hopefully. And please do let us know if you enjoyed. The VOD will be available. You can watch it as many times as you like. You can ask questions if you would like. I will be monitoring it if you need me to answer a few of your questions. But other than that, I hope that everybody has a good evening. Hope everybody has a good rest of your week. And I will see you guys next time. So thank you all for coming. See you guys then.